let's go ahead and get started here. So, again, the lesson today is on thinking in numbers, and that is the point of when you're in music. Numbers are super important on communication, on the way we write things down. All of the chords that we have are based on numbers. All of the intervals are based on numbers. Communication with musicians based on numbers. And so last week we looked at the major scale formula. And when we looked at the major scale formula, which we'll go over really quickly here, we saw that there is an actual order to the notes in a key. So whatever the key is, it was easy to figure out. And in future lessons, I'll show you an easier way to figure out the actual notes in a key. But just for review, let's look at that real quick. In any key, in any major key, we're going to have 8 or really 7 different notes, and then it's going to basically repeat one of the notes. So let's just write that out here real quick, just so we know what we're talking about. We're all on the same page here. So I'm going to write out some dashes here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we looked at the formula, which was moving from our starting note. So like the first one, we would go, first note, we'd go up a whole step. I'm going to put a W for whole. And then from the 2, we'd go up a whole step. And from the 3, we go up a half step, little H for that. From the 4, we go up another whole step. From the 5, we go up a whole step. From the 6, we go up a whole step. And from the 7, we go up a half step right there. And we're going to refer to the last note here as an 8 and or 1. So in case you missed last week's, go back in and go ahead and watch that video. You'll still get some information from this video, but if you wanted to really dive into that, if you're not familiar with the major scale formula, then go back and watch that. But so in practicality, what this looks like is, let me pull my keyboard here a little bit. So if we had, like in the key of C, for example, if we started off and our first one is a C, and we went up a whole step to a D, to an E, and then from our E, we went up a half step. There's no black note in between here, so this is the half step right here to that G, A, whole step, and following all along here, and then finally right here is we're back to where we started. Okay, pretty simple. You guys should be following along there. Let me give you another key just to make sure we're on the same page. So let's go. I don't know, let's just do A here. So we have A, okay, and then we're going to go up a whole step to B, whole step to C sharp, half step to D, whole step to E, whole step to F sharp, G sharp, whole step, A, whole step there. So you see how these are kind of lining up, this major scale formula making this. So again, that's what all this is based off of, is the C scale. There is basically the contemporary Western music theory is based off of this scale right here, based off of the major scale. Everything else is going to be related to this. And so in music theory, like if you've ever run across a chord, you know what the heck is a E minor 7 flat 5? It's using this to determine that. If you don't know this, then you're not going to be able to know what notes are in that. And we'll get to that eventually on how to do that. So let's look at how this can apply to a normal musician's world here. So let's say in here, let's just write out our notes again. This time we're going to do it kind of upside down. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and or 1. And then we'll do this, and we'll write underneath here. Probably should slow this. I'm going to slow myself down a little bit and get this a little bit more symmetrical. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 and or 1. And then let's underline these. So again, every major scale has got 7 notes, and then it repeats the first one. That's why this is called 8 and or 1. Sometimes it might be referred to as an 8. Sometimes it might be referred to as a 1. So again, looking at those again, we have the C scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, just like that. All right, so what is with this, again, a couple reminders. Every major scale is going to have every letter name represented. And I'll show that why that's important here as we go through some other keys, but just keep that in mind. Every letter name is represented. So what does this mean, and how is this even helpful for what we're talking about here with music theory? Well, in communication, for example, here might be some examples. You might say, be playing, and someone says, "Hey, what is the chord progression of this song?" Okay. And someone might say something like, well, the chord progression it's 1, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And we're repeating that over and over. And that's kind of the chord progression. Okay. So here's one that you might, so what that would look like here, if you have the 1, 4, 5, and the 6, the chord progression, if you know the C major scale, you would say, okay, well, our chords are C, F is the 4, 5 is G, and 6 is A minor, which we'll talk about how to determine that in the future. But basically, it's very easy to know what the chords are. Now, imagine that you were playing something and you got there and they said, actually, you know what? Our singer likes to play this a little bit higher. It's better for her range, a little bit higher. Let's play this in the key of let's play it in E. Okay. Well, you're like, oh man, my whole chord chart is in the key of C. My whole method of communication and understanding this is in the key of C. How would I possibly do that? Well, if you're thinking in numbers, you can immediately transpose all of that. Okay. So in the key of, let me go here again. So if we went up into the key of E, it would be E. And we're going to do this real quick here. So again, the major scale formula, the whole step. Whole step, whole step, whole step, whole step, just like that. So those are our numbers there. So when we go back here in our chord chart, instead of it just being numbers, sometimes you can write out a chord chart with both numbers and chords, letter names. But if here's our chord chart like this, and we say, oh man, we're going to have to play this in a different key. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Well, if you know your major scale, if you know your major scales, your numbers here, and this is very easy for you to say, all right, let me transpose this really quick. And you don't even have to think about this in terms of the chords. You can think of them more in the numbers. And what's great about this is as you start to do this, you start to think of your numbers in the way, thinking of them as when you're playing chords in a key, you can start thinking of those chords as numbers. And so like, no matter what chord you're playing, if you're playing in G, you strum a G chord, think of that as 1, okay? Then you strum the C chord, think of that as the 4. And you strum the D chord, think of that as the 5. And you play E minor, think of that as the 6. As you start doing that, then what ends up happening is your brain starts to just associate the numbers with it, and you can actually do this immediately in your brain without a problem. And again, the more you do it, the more you're practicing, the more you're playing with other people, all that kind of thing. All of this, it makes a lot more sense. The more that you're doing this, it becomes very, very easy. I even find myself in my season of life right now, I'm not playing as much as I used to. And what ends up happening is my brain even stops thinking about this a little bit. So what looking at a couple comments here. Let's see. Yeah. So there's one here looking at the this is Burnt Gerbil. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. That's actually kind of hard for me to read from this distance. If you're looking at classical music theory, which I have a bachelor's in music theory, that in the school, a lot of times when you go to schools, they will be classical schools or they will be contemporary schools. Mine was a classical school, and they were pretty strict on it. In fact, there were some times where you, some musicians, they, depending on the school, they don't even treat instruments as classical instruments. For example, saxophone is not a classical instrument. It's a modern instrument, basically in the last 150 years or so, if I remember correctly. But basically in the 20th century is when the saxophone really came in. Anyway, I say all that to say, one of my friends, Donnie, was a great saxophone player, and he, even though that was his primary instrument, he had to use, he had to do all of his official music stuff in the clarinet, which is a very similar instrument. Most sax players can play clarinet. But anyway, I say all that to say, sometimes in the classical, basically it's 18th century music theory, is this is an adaptation of that, thinking of it in the modern context. So the reason why I say all that is you'll sometimes come across numbers like this, that instead of it being just saying 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, writing them out the actual, numbers like this that we have normally, you would use Roman numerals, and it would be like, you would have like 1 and then 4 and then 5 and then 6, like this, and then your uppercase Roman numerals are major chords. So actually that should be that. And then your lowercase are minor chords. It's great. It's a great method, but it's not exactly conducive to writing out chord charts. So that's why I just use the regular numbers. And this, by the way, is called transposing, where you're taking one key and you're going up to another one. And if anybody that's ever played guitar, somebody on here commented and said that's what, that's why guitar is so great for capos, is because you can basically take a capo and slide it up wherever you want on the fret, and however many half steps is in between the two keys. Then you don't have to transpose it in your head. It's the guitar is already doing it for you. There's only certain things that there's limitations to that. So let's dive in a little bit more why this might be applicable to. Sometimes in music theory, you might say things like, hey, at the end of this, we're going to go do a 2-5-1 in the turnaround. Okay, so you might say, okay, well, 2-5-1 would be like, here we go, 2-5-1. The 2 is a minor chord usually. So this, in the key of C, we would be playing a D and then a G and then back to the C. Okay. If we were in the key of E, then we'd be playing an F sharp minor. And then we'd be playing a B, and then we'd go back to the E, just like that. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. Another thing that this does is it also will help us with all of the extra numbers that you hear in with a chord, or where you see the chord. A lot of times people will say things like, just questions that I've gotten from people. They go, what does a 9 mean? Or what does a 7 mean? Or what does a 6 mean? All that kind of thing. And basically, what this does is it spells it out here for you. So I'm going to make another video, actually a number of videos on using numbers with chords, but I'll give you like a real quick thing, and then we'll move on. By the way, if again, this is a good time to write down a question that you might have, and I will answer it here at the end of this. And so if you're watching this not live, what I'm doing is when I'm starting these live music lessons, I will start with just kind of a hangout time for a few minutes, and then I will start the content, the lesson, which should last about 15 minutes or so, maybe a little bit more, I'm not sure. And then we'll open up for question and answer. And so it doesn't have to be necessarily related to this topic here, but any music theory question that you have, and I'll do my best to answer it, and we'll go from there. And then what I'm going to do is, once that video is up, I'm going to cut down the video and post another video on YouTube that's just the content. Okay, so it'll be the kind of a more of a summarized version for that. So, all right, let's give a couple more examples here, and we'll dive in here as well. So, somebody wants to we'll do 2 more keys. Somebody put another key up there, and we'll do it, and then I will we'll go from there. So somebody write in a key, and we'll do the next key, whatever the choice that you guys choose. Okay, let's do a pretty common key of B flat up here. So B flat is going to start. The 1's going to be B flat, and then the 2 is going to be C. D. I'm going to just do it this way. By the way, that's how I think of things. I actually don't even always think in terms of the major scale formula when I'm writing out a key. I think in terms of how many sharps or flats are in that key, which we'll talk about in another video. But that's why I didn't write it out that way. Is I will just write out the however many. I'll write out all the letter names, and then I'll go back in and fill in the flats or the sharps, because I just have memorized that B flat is got 2 flats, which is going to be B flat and E flat. We'll get to that in another video, but it's pretty cool the way that works. But anyway, that's why my mind thinks that. So even though we're basing this off of the major scale formula, we're going to actually move past that eventually, where we're not having to go back and do whole half for every single one of those. We will just be able to dive right into it. All right, so okay, here we go. Looking at this, another thing that is important with this is again those extra numbers. So any major chord, so a major chord is going to have the 1, the 3, and the 5 in it, just the way it is in the major scale. Okay, so for example, in this is going it's going to equal 1, 3, and 5. So a B flat chord, the notes in a B flat are B flat, C. I'm sorry, what am I saying? I just looked at C. B flat, D, and then our 5 is F. Okay, so those are the notes in the B flat chord. Okay, now sometimes it's, so if you see a chord that's just B flat like this, that's what that is. Now what if you see a chord like this that says B flat and it's got a little 2 next to it? You're like, well, I don't know what the B flat 2 is. Well, first of all, it's adding a note. Okay, so if you don't know what the 2 is right off the top of your head, or whatever the case is, you can just play the basic B flat chord. Any chord, but this is just a little tip here for musicians, little hack. Anytime there's a something that goes beyond the major or the minor or the augmented or diminished, those are our 4 basic chord qualities. Usually with most music we play, it's just gonna be the major and minor, at least in common, more contemporary pop rock music. But so we have like the major and minor. If you're seeing something more than that, like a 6 or a 13 or a minor 7 flat 5, all that kind of stuff, it's basically adding notes to the 1, 3, and the 5. Okay, so in other words, if the notes on this is this is the 1, the 3, and the 5. So our 1, 3, 5 again is going to still be B flat, D, and F. Okay, but then we're going to add this 2 to it. So we're going to add a C note right there. Okay, that's all that a B flat second is a major chord, 1, 3, 5, with an added 2 to it. Pretty simple. Knowing thinking in numbers, super important when you're doing this, because now you know how to add things. Now you know what's going on. Let's do another example of this. Let's see if anybody's written in any keys or anything like that. Let's see. Nope, nobody wrote a key, so let's just pick up another key. I don't know. The key of D. Okay, so so we'll do the wouldn't be actually the key of D necessarily, it's the chord of D. So all of the chords are based off of the major scale. So the major scale is not just what's based off of the key, but each individual chord. So when you're playing like a C chord, that C chord is based off of the C major scale. If you're playing a D chord, it's based off of the D major scale. If you're playing a G chord, it's based off of the G major scale. An A flat chord is based off the A flat major scale, all that kind of stuff. So what's interesting about it is as you're playing in a song, you might have however many chords it is. Let's just say it's a basic song, and you're going to do it's got 3 or 4 chords, different chords in it. So if you're playing in the key of G, your 1, 4, 5 is going to be G, C, and D. You're going to be thinking about the key as the key of G, but you're also going to be thinking about when I'm playing a G chord, the notes that I'm playing are the 1, 3, 5 of the key of G. But when I'm playing a C chord, it's the 1, 3, 5 in the key of C. If I'm playing a D chord, it's the 1, 3, 5 in the key of D. Hopefully that's making sense. Okay, so let's look at this. Let's see. Mojo Blues says F sharp. I'm not going to do F sharp. I'm not going to do G flat. Okay, we're getting into too many sharps and flats in order to do that for where it's here right now. Let's see. A YouTube account says F flat C D F in this order. Yeah, so that's a good point. So I just said that let me write this out again. B C D E F G A B flat. Okay, so again, if I was playing a second chord, we've got B flat is our 1, our 3 is D, and our 5 is F, and then our 2, if we had a B flat second chord, then our 2 would be C. It doesn't matter what order this is in. So I like to think of it in terms of stacking on top instead of, at least as far as the theory is concerned, I like to think of it in stacking on top of it instead of it being smashing in the middle. But that doesn't necessarily mean how you're going to actually play it. So, if you had a B flat chord, it's too high. Where am I at? Sorry, my angle that I'm at here is a little hard. So if I had a B flat chord, okay, and then I was going to add in the D here, I may not play it all the way up here. Okay, that's the right one. I would probably color, what am I saying here? Yeah, I'm sorry, adding in the C. I may not do that. I'm probably going to be playing a bass note. Sorry, you can't see this. I'll have to do it up here. My camera's, let's see if I can zoom out a little bit. There we go. It's a little bit better. All right, there we go. So here's our B flat chord. What I'm probably going to do is play the B flat down here and then the C right here. And then that's going to be, I could even add in another note if I want to and double up the 5 like that. But so you don't have to play them in necessarily any order. Generally speaking, you're going to play the root note, which is the 1. That's going to be the lowest note. And then you're going to move back up. But yeah, so yes, you're correct. You don't have to do that. You don't have to put them in the exact order. Okay. So let's do another one here. Another example of what that might be for us. I forgot what key I said I was going to do. What did I say? I say the key of D. I can't remember. Let's just do that. Let's just do the key of D. So we have D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. And I happen to know that D has 2 sharps in it, which are F sharp and C sharp. Okay, so that is our major scale right here. So D chord is going to be our 1 right here is going to be D. Our 3 is going to be F sharp. Our 5 is going to be A. And then if we had if we were playing like a D second chord, then the 2 we would add an E note here as our 2. Okay. Now if we were to play a D sixth chord, so they, well, what in the world is the 6th? You're actually just adding in that 6th note right there. So our 6th is going to be, you're going to add a B into that as well. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. The only caveat to this, and we'll explain why in another lesson, but it's good to know, and that is that the 7 chord is going to be a slight alteration of this. It's actually not the 7 note. It's going to be it's actually a flat 7. So when you see a 7 note, it's actually going to be a flat 7. Okay, so this would actually be adding in not the C sharp, but the C chord right there. But again, we're gonna dive into that in another time. But that's pretty much pretty much the ease of this right here. There's just so many times when the numbers make a lot of sense for this. I'm going to just give you another example here that would just be is super easy. That actually I practically use this a lot in our group at our church. We kind of have a culture of we'll take some time at the middle of our church service, and we just kind of jam out, and the band does, and then people just have a chance to meet somebody they don't know. And a lot of times we will say, hey, let's just play the blues. Our guitar player will start jamming, and then everybody kicks in, and then we don't have to say, well, what are the chords of this? We just pick a key. Okay, so this is how that would in effect work here. So the chords of a typical blues progression is going to be it's going to be this. I'll go with a basic one, and then we'll add a little bit to it here. So there's 12 bars. That's why it's called 12 measures. Bar is another word for measure. 12 bar blues, and it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 measures of the one. Okay. So let's just go back. Let's go A here. We're gonna do this first one in the key of A, and then we'll go back. A has 3 sharps, so it's gonna be F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. So we're gonna play 4 measures. I'm gonna move it over this way. 4 measures of 1, and then we're gonna go and play 2 measures of 4, okay? And then we're going to go 2 measures of 1. Then we're going to go 5, 4, 1, okay? Basic, pretty easy to understand right there. And then now let's do this here. Let's translate this in. So I'm going to kind of do this. So converting these looks like this: A, E, F sharp, E, A. Okay, very, very good. So basically, if you're when we're playing, we can just basically say, hey, we're going to play blues, and as long as we know that progression, doesn't matter what key it is, we all know our keys, and so it's easy to do. So if we were to switch this and we were to say, all right, we're not playing in the key of A, actually let's play in we'll play in E flat today. Okay, so sorry, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E flat, and E flat has 3 flats: E flat, B flat, E flat, and A flat are our flats. So this would be very simple. We've got E flat for a 1, and then we have our 4, which is A flat, and back to our 1, and our 5, which is B flat, 4, A flat, and our 1. Lots of flats in this one. So here's there's an example there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and write up on here. I'm going to write out the key of A flat here. So we have A flat, and there's 4 flats in A flat. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A flat. So we have B, E, A, and D flat, or is that? So what if usually when you're playing a chord progression, it's not going to be as kind of mundane as just playing 1, 3, 5 on everything. Okay, you're going to have a little bit more color, especially in the blues. Is going to have more color than just the 1, 3, 5. So typically you're going to have a 7 chord in there. Okay, so this would look something like this. As you're playing through it, someone might just do that. Okay. And then all these turn into 7s. So this is E flat 7, A flat 7, and B flat 7. Okay. Hopefully you're following along so far. So right here, in E flat, okay, if we're going to add the 7, which is the flat 7, remember, it's going to be, we're going to add a D note to this. So our E flat chord, the 1, the 3, the 5, and then the 7 chord makes it a flat 7. We're going to play our notes, our E flat, our 3 is G, our 5 is B flat, and then our 7 is, like we said, D. Okay, so this is an E flat 7 chord. All right, sorry, you can't really see that. If we were to play an A flat chord, so an A flat 7, we've got our 1, 3, 5, and our 7 is actually a flat 7. So we would have A flat as our 1, our 3 is C, our 5 is E flat, I'm sorry, E flat, and our 7 is G flat, okay, because it's a flat 7. You can see really quickly how all of this adds in together. And I'll throw one into you really quick here. Let's go ahead and I'll write out B flat here up here at the top, just so we'll do the B flat chord, or B flat key, B, C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B flat. Okay, so on here, the B flat chord, let's say instead of a B flat, you're going to see a B flat 9 right there. Well, the B flat, the 9. Sorry, I dropped this. This is going beyond this lesson, but it's basically this might help somebody out now, and I'll dive into more of this, stacking the numbers together in another lesson, but here's a little snippet of one of those. A 9 chord, one concept, one way to conceptualize 9 chords is basically anything less than well, I'll just say it and I'll explain it in another video. Basically, a 9 chord is going to be a 7. So, sorry, here's our flat. There's a B flat. So our 9 would be a 7 plus a 2. That's where you get 9. So 7 plus 2 equals 9. So typically on a 9 chord here, we would have our 1, 3, 5, our flat 7, and we'd have our 2. Okay, so the notes in that are going to be B flat. Our 3 is D. Our 5 is F. Our 7 is A flat. And our 2 is C. There you go. That's getting a little bit more advanced for this lesson, but hopefully that was helpful to you. And so at this point, if you're watching this not live, we're going to end the video here. But we're going to open it up to live questions for the Q&A for those that are watching live. And do me a favor before you leave that, though, and everybody that's watching too live, go ahead and give a like to this video. I know it really does help with the algorithms and all that kind of stuff. I know YouTubers always say that, but it actually does help with the video. So I much appreciate it. And I'm going to get through some of the comments. So I'm going to end the video now for those that are watching it not live, and then we'll dive into some of the Q&A here. So thanks, guys, so much for watching, and we'll see you next week on Music Theory Monday. All right, and for everybody that's here live, let's do this here.